Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. In our 20th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for people living in San Diego County, whether it's food insecurity, it's financial literacy, it's Alzheimer's. They are involved in everything. We are so thrilled with a special edition of Spotlight on the Community. We are going to be chatting about remembering Bill Walton. In the studio with us is Tom Davis. He played against Bill Walton in high school, and yes, that's Tom Davis that works very closely with us at Cloudcast Media. Thanks to Tom. He was the creator of To the Mountaintop, our special series on those people that grew up in San Diego, sports legends that we now paired with some of the students that went to their high school. So Tom did a great job there. He's also involved in our Future Pathways Superintendents Unplugged podcast series, where we interview all 43 school superintendents. And Tom, you just been just a delight to work with the Classroom of the Future Foundation, and we had a pretty successful event yesterday.
It was beautiful. Great job, Drew.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and Tom has been a long time community leader and educator in the region. Also joined by his friends, Mike Dupree, who was a teammate of Bill Walton's at Helix High and grew up with Bill. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Drew. Thanks for having us.
Oh, you can't wait to hear your stories over there, and also joining is your friend Jim Bristol. Jim is the guy that also played against Bill Walton in high school and has got many pictures of them on this great rafting trip. Well, where was that rafting trip, Jim?
Actually, I went on 2 with Bill.
Okay, so you actually survived one of them, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes. One when I was about 30, and that was the Snake River up in Idaho.
Been on it.
Oh, you have?
I have.
Through Hell's Canyon?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I'll show you a picture offline on that one.
Okay, yeah. So that was, earlier on. And then later on when I was around 50, and Bill also was 50, we did the 21-day trip down to Colorado that
Wow.
Bill organized. Bill organized both of these trips.
Yeah.
Transportation, just really incredible trips. And actually the Colorado trip was the vacation of a lifetime, although it got a little long, 21 days. But...
Well, 21 days with Bill would be a lifetime, but that's another story. I can't wait to hear these stories. Joined by my co-host, Lindsay Belsky. She's a senior multimedia editor for SSU Daily Aztec. You've done a great job as Are you enjoying this?
I'm having a great time.
I know, absolutely.
It's been a good day.
It's been a good day. You've been doing a wonderful job. I wrote for the Daily Aztec more than 50 years ago. And so Lindsay has invited me to meet the Daily Aztec staff in a couple weeks. And in the room, as some of the old Daily Aztec articles, I was a sports writer. We're going to go see what type of infantile stuff I wrote back in the day.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be fun. We're going to start with Mike Dupree. Mike, again, played with Bill at Helix High School and grew up with Bill. So, Mike, good to see you again. And I know every time we get to go to a USD game and chat about those things. So how was it growing up with Bill?
Well, I said it was probably one of the nicest childhoods that anybody could ever have. And thank you, Drew, for having us on and doing this little special on Bill. I've always remarked over the years, lots of people always will come to me and say, "Oh, you played with Bill Walton? Oh, what was it like? You were playing high. What's about?" And I go, "Well, you know the story of Bill playing basketball. I mean, it's like kind of asking somebody after they've been in Hawaii for 2 weeks, hey, how was Hawaii? Oh, no, it's really bad." Anyway, so pretty good there. But I wanted to share some of my experiences on things that have never really been talked about Bill. Everybody in the world has read about his basketball, from UCLA to Portland and to the NBA, and then his works after that. But not too many things have ever been written about his childhood. They seem to have always passed that by. And I've read all the books, and there's not a whole lot spent on that, and not really that much spent on his high school basketball career. Everybody knew he was a great player, but there's a lot of things there that I've told this story before. I could sit down at a time, give me a glass of wine or two, and I could start writing a book about it all, and probably fill up a book of just from the time that I met Bill in 7th grade to our high school years, because that's the time that I spent with Bill. As he left for UCLA, we went on different paths. We just had different movements in life, and so I didn't really know Bill as an adult. So I want to tell the story today, if you give me time, about how we met and how Bill kind of changed my life.
Right.
And
so here's my first question for you, and I know Lindsay will jump in as well. What was it like? Do you remember the first day you met Bill?
Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
Mid-December 1964. We were in 7th grade. We were parochial school.
Blessed Sacrament?
Bill went to Blessed Sacrament. I went to St. Martin's.
Okay.
So the district was split. We lived actually a mile apart, never knew it. We went to different parochial schools. Tommy can chime in a little bit on these as he went to parochial school. But anyway, we had, it was kind of my first introduction to playing competitive basketball. I was on the 7th and 8th grade team at St. Martin's, and Bill was on the 7th and 8th grade team at Blessed Sacrament. We were playing in the Christmas tournament at St. Augustine High School. Probably 5 or 6 days before Christmas. It was pretty big. It was the first time we'd ever played at night in gyms with lights, and it was just so cool. And so we were there playing a game. We weren't that good that year. 8th grade was a little bit better, but I remember coming on one of our timeouts. I came over to the sidelines, and I was sitting there, and there was this redheaded kid sitting behind our bench about 3 rows up. And I looked at him, and he had that infectious Bill Walton smile, that kind of where he always went, and kind of nodded. And I looked at him, and I kind of nodded back, but he was looking at me right in the eye and going like that. And I was going. Anyway, we finished the game and came back. And so I said, I'm going to go watch the game next to us. And it was Blessed Sacrament playing. And then I saw who the redheaded kid was. So he's out there playing on the court. At that time, I'd say 7th grade, Bill was maybe, it's hard to remember, 5'10" maybe. But
really?
7th grade?
Well, pretty good. Yeah,
That's
pretty
tall.
good. Yeah, well, anyway, he played forward. He played on the side. I didn't really understand that in my later years, but now it kind of makes sense. Well, his brother Bruce was playing center that time, and I didn't know any of them there. So I just sat there and I started watching their game, and my mouth slowly dropped open as I watched him play. As a 5'10" 7th grader, Bill would bring the ball down, crossover dribbles, pass the ball, move it around, directing the flow, looking at the game. He'd get out on the side 15 feet diagonally because he played on the wing. He didn't play with his back to the basket like he would in his future. Mm-hmm. He started taking jump shots from about 12, 15 feet from the side. I'll never forget this. I can still visualize it right now. He was banking them off the backboard.
Before John Wooden.
Yeah, but I mean, at that time, you're a kid, 7th grade, where you're just goofing around. I'm shooting two-hand set shots, and Bill's making bank shots from the side. I'd never seen somebody bank a shot. So I actually started banking shots after that. I watched it, but I was watching, I was in amaze. And then he came to the bench, and I was sitting there, and he looked up at me, and I just kind of nodded, and he nodded back. So that was our first little meeting. Didn't see each other for a while, but one time again in the St. Augustine gym as 7th graders, we kind of hooked up and kind of talked, and he said that anyway, got around. So we kind of had this contact that way. In 8th grade, we hooked up again at St. Augustine gym, and he was sitting there one day, and I saw him, and he waved me up, and we sat there and watched games until I went to play and he went to play and talked. And so it was kind of a weird connection. I don't know exactly how to define it. But then the story gets deeper, I guess. And I've told this to Tommy and Jim a couple of times, but it's a pretty good story. I had to go home. We were watching games, and Bill looked at me and said, well, he goes, let's just watch some more games. I'll have, my dad can bring us home. And so I went, oh, really? And I was with coaches. My parents weren't at the game. And I told him, I said, I'm going to go home. He lives kind of, at that time, nowadays somebody would look at that story and go, there's no way you're doing that. Back then it was like, oh yeah, okay, we'll see you later kind of thing. Well, we ended up watching a bunch of games, and we start to go home. And so Bill goes, come on. So we go, and his dad's picking us up, and I get in the car, and I'll never forget, and his dad was Ted.
Right.
Ted turned around and looked, and he just looked at me, and Bill goes, hey, Dad, this is Mike Dupree. We're going to give him a ride home. And Ted just went, okay, Bill, okay. Anyway, so the story goes on. So Bill dropped me off at home. I said, see you, and we talked or whatever. But all during that year, we kind of hooked up a little bit during the games. And at one time, Bill looked at me and he said, where are you going to high school? And I said, well, I'm going to St. Augustine. My parents are enrolling me. And he goes, no, we're going to Helix. We're going to play basketball at Helix. And I said, oh, Bill, I'll never be able to do that. My parents, are you kidding? They've already signed me up. I can't, he goes, oh. Anyway, the year ended, and I come home from school, or not from school, it was almost summertime, but came home one day, and my parents are sitting in the living room. And I had forgotten this story. My brother reminded of me a couple of years back, and I had forgotten all about it. But my parents are sitting in the living room, and I go, oh, what's going on? And he goes, this young boy just came to our house. And I said, yeah, his name was Bill Walton. Do you know him? I go, yeah, I know Bill. We've become friends. He goes to Blessed Sacrament. He goes, well, he came in and he instructed your father and I that you weren't going to St. Augustine, that you were going to be going to Helix, and you guys were going to be playing basketball there.
Oh, he knew what he wanted.
Well, I think he always kind of started formulating teams. Even at UCLA, I think he did that at Portland and the pros. And I said, oh, wow. I go, what'd you say? And they go, well, your father and I have talked, and we think that's okay. And I'm going, really? I go, I didn't even understand it at the time. Well, sure enough, I go in my bedroom. I call my buddy Dave Grunstrom, who we were lifelong friends. And Dave's the local San Diego. I don't know if you know him.
I don't know Dave.
Okay. He's a longtime San Diego guy in the community. And I said, I'm going to be going to Helix. He goes, you're kidding me. I go, yeah. I go, I don't know if you know Bill, but, I kind of forgot one part of the story. But that's me. I get all over the place. But I go, I'm going to be going to Helix. We started going to Helix basketball games on Friday night because Bill would go, and he'd go, meet me at the game. So I would have my dad drop me off, and so we would sit at the Helix games that year, and that was the year 65. They won the CIF championship. Good players, John Skalecki, John Ugrin, Rick Barnes. I remember him. We watched all the games, and Bill kept looking and analyzing and said, this is what we're going to do. So when he finally got my parents to do that, I said, oh, my God, what from there? So that kind of changed my life. It swung from me going to St. Augustine at that time, which I would have met Tommy earlier. I wish I had earlier in life, and played with him a little bit. But we ended up going to Helix and went on from there. But the next day after that, I hear this yelling down the hill. I lived up on a hill, and Bill's down on the street on his bicycle. And he's yelling at me. He's going, Mike. I go, what? He goes, come on. I said, what? He goes, we're going down to Helix. We'll sign up for summer school and play some basketball. Come on, grab your bike. So we took off. And so anyway, that's a good story of our childhood. That's when we met. And that day kind of changed my life, I guess, in my direction in basketball.
Right. And anybody that knows Bill, that's a great story, Mike. And they go, well, that is Bill. My goodness, are you kidding me at that young age? Talking to Mike Dupree, a teammate of Bill Walton's at Helix High, talking about when he first met Bill. And we're going to now shift it over to Tommy Davis, which I've never called you Tommy before, but since Dupree did, I'm going to start calling you Tommy in this aspect of it. Tom played basketball at Saints, as they call it, St. Augustine. He was also a great football player in his mind, he said. So it was actually, you had a football scholarship, did you not?
I did, a couple of them.
To where?
Cal.
And where else?
Well, St. Mary's had a football program back then, so St. Mary's.
And
also.
Why did you not go to Cal?
There's a great story behind that.
I want to hear it.
I flew up there with my father.
Yeah.
This is 1969.
Yeah.
Height of Haight-Ashbury.
Of course.
Hippies.
Oh,
My father goes,
I think
get off the plane. We go up to school at the Cal. There's a guy running around naked at that park up there. Everybody's smoking pot. My dad said, "You're not going to school here."
So why were you running around naked?
I wasn't.
I'm
me.
just kidding you. I'm just kidding. I want to see if our audience was listening, for God's sake. On that. So your dad said that's it, and then had you been accepted to USD? Did you get a scholarship? Well, they did. They did scholarships back then, right?
Yeah, yes. I had a scholarship to the University of San Diego, and I love the story. Telling this story is the great Phil Wolpert came to my house
sure.
and recruited me because Bernie Bickerstaff was our coach, and he ended up going somewhere else. He had Phil come to my house, which is an honor for me because Phil Wolpert was our AD at that time, and I respect that guy a lot because he coached Bill Russell and Casey Jones at USF.
60 straight wins.
60 straight wins until UCLA broke that record.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was going to share with you that back in those days, you respect your father, right? You respect the wishes of your parents, and so at the end of when I never forget this either, but my mom came out. I'm Latino, right, half Mexican, and my mom's full on 100% Mexican. And when she brought out the enchiladas to serve for dinner, when Phil came over, he said, "Are you Latino?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I didn't know that." So him and my dad are talking the whole night because my dad played basketball at St. Louis University. He was a Billiken.
A Billiken, right?
Yeah,
they were a good team.
And they're going back. I'm listening to these two guys talk all night. It was great having a conversation with and listening to these guys. And at the end of the night, Coach Wolpert said, "Oh, by the way, Tom, we want you at the University of San Diego." My dad goes, "He'll be there."
You couldn't get a word in edgewise on
You're
it.
like, I guess.
I guess, yeah, I did say a word. And that's back when you respected your parents' decision. And you know what? And looking back, it was the best decision that I probably ever made. My dad was right.
Parents usually are, honestly.
Yeah, right. You don't think so at the time. So now you're at USD. Bernie, well-known NBA coach, and I was honored to go to the game when they were having a session with Bernie a couple weeks ago and so forth. And how was it to be coached by Bernie Bickerstaff?
You know what? He was like one of us. He was 25 years old when he was coaching us. That's why I respect Phil Wolpert to this day because he set that up because he was a real big believer in social equity and social justice, and he wanted more black coaches in college ranks. And so in 1970, when I got there, we used to practice every day. At October 15th was our first day to practice.
Absolutely.
14th, Phil Wolpert resigned from the university, and Bernie was our graduate assistant coach at that time, and forced the university's hand to hire him at 25.
Wow.
So Bernie was one of us. I'm 18 years old. He's 25. It's not a big difference.
Yeah.
So he was a great coach for us because he was a role model for us. He could still play. And Coach Cunningham was there also, a great influence on all of us because he played at USF right after Bill Russell.
Right. So we're going to get back to how, Mike, you playing with Bill in a few seconds, and Tom, you played against Bill, but we're going to talk to Jim Bristol now. And Jim played against Bill as well, and you were at Monte Vista High School, obviously a very, very good ball player. But the claim to fame is how many games did Bill lose in high school?
One.
Okay, good. Were you involved in that game, Jim?
Yes, I was. I'm proud to say I was.
And was Mike playing on Bill's team when that happened?
Yes, and I was so happy he was on that team.
Very, very good. Mike is shooting you with darts in his eyes and all that business over there. Talk about that game.
Well, first of all, I'll talk about me and Duke. We weren't exactly friends back then.
No.
We started playing against each other as freshmen, I guess, and then JV maybe for a little bit, and then varsity. And I didn't really get to know Duke until, I guess, maybe right before our senior year.
No,
and
it was
pretty
after.
much
It was after our senior year.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, you played against each
That's
other.
what I was
Yeah,
but we
thinking.
hated each
we
other.
were rivals.
We
When
hated
you guys
each other.
first came in and I knew that you guys played against each other, I was like, and they're friends? I was like, how
Yeah,
did this happen?
yeah. Well,
It does happen.
here's
That's a
how-
good story.
Here's
There's
how
a
it
story
happened.
behind everything.
Yeah, so we used to have some great games at Helix back in those days. The Rockets had just come into town, and us high school guys would be down there and
Pat
play.
Riley, Rudy Tomjanovich, Toby Kimball, the only bald guy in the history of the NBA at the time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's some great players that came down there, and all the college players around here.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But so we had some good games. So the high school guys kind of got to know each other, and I became friends with Bill and Duke because we often were on the same team playing against those guys. And so it was after our senior year, I guess, and these guys, the Helix guys, invited me to move into their beach house. Bill had gotten a beach house from somebody.
That's right.
And on Mission Bay.
Is that by Belmont Park?
Yeah, it was right by Belmont Park.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're seniors in high school, and here we are moving out our first time out of the house, and it was a fun time.
I know it well.
Yeah, so we might have had a few parties.
Yeah, a couple.
But some of the things I remember from those days, we were playing basketball, working, and one thing I remember, Bill taking off from the house. Dupe, you probably remember this, and he'd take off swimming in Mission Bay.
Yeah.
And we'd watch him. We'd be sitting on the beach, enjoying the sun. And Bill would take off swimming. We'd see him just swim.
Yeah,
keep swimming all around the corner of Mission Bay, all around, and then he'd come back about 4 or 5 hours later.
Oh, yeah.
He just, this is an example of Bill doing the amazing things that he did his whole life. I mean, this guy was just an unbelievable human being, in terms of his activities on the court, off the court. God, you could just go on and tell Bill Walton stories.
Well, I want to get back to the game. The game where
let's talk about that.
Dupe.
I don't remember that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, listen, we had at Monte Vista at that time, you remember as a basketball player, the metal fan boards.
Of course.
The side courts. Those were on our main court.
Right.
You didn't have a square backboard?
No, our junior year. We switched our junior.
Oh my goodness!
Threw us all off, Drew. Threw us all off.
So Bill was throwing his off. Duke talks about Bill's bank shot, but on those boards it would go off the corner of the board.
100%.
It just because he anyway, and that team also had Bruce Walton, by the way. So that was
the enforcer.
That was a pretty good team. Bruce Menzer.
Yeah.
Who else?
Dave Unroe was a forward. And,
yeah. So they had a strong team, but we just got hot at home and got I think lucky, I guess, a little bit, and we beat them.
How much? How many points?
I think maybe 3. It was a close game.
I think it was. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
One story that I've told before that someone else said it wasn't true, but I think Bill walked home from the game. After they lost. Is that a true story?
You told me that once. I'm not sure. But if he did, we probably picked him up on the bus. I could tell another story about how he walked one time, but I
after they lost, he was PO'd and took
he just
off.
started walking, He still remembers. I remember...
I remember that if walking home, if I only lost
from Monte Vista
he's full of passion for what he does, in everything that he does. Based on the way you guys are describing all these stories.
Right, and you know what? It was funny because until we had chatted, and Tommy, I think we were talking at one point about his record. And I mean, it's not like Bill lost a lot of games. Going back to when we were sophomores in high school, if you look at his record, I think as a sophomore, when we were playing JV, we might have lost 1 game. We lost 1 game as juniors. We lost, or 2 games as juniors. Once and we lost to a team in the Fillmore tournament, I remember.
That was before we beat them. So we were the last team to beat them, not the only team, I guess.
Well, no, that's the story as juniors. Then, of course, we didn't lose any in our senior year. He didn't lose any in his freshman year at UCLA. His sophomore year at UCLA. His junior year at UCLA, right?
Oh, I know.
Was it the senior year they lost to Notre Dame?
Yeah. So here's how it started.
So add those up.
Well, no. It was the lost weekend in Oregon. Because I was on the freshman basketball team at Oregon, but I'm a billion years younger than you, Jim.
Yes, that's right.
Actually, that's not true. No, they lost to Oregon State and to Oregon. And at the time, when I was on the freshman team, Greg Ballard was at UCLA at Oregon, and they had, Dick Harder was the Kamikaze Kids, and but they went up and they lost both weekends. They lost to Oregon and to Oregon State, and of course lost the big winning streak at Notre Dame with Dwight Clay hit that shot with no time left and all that, and. I was devastated when they lost that. I'm sure on that. But let me pivot over to Tom just for a second on this. So you played against Bill when you were at Saints, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You held him to no points. Is that what you told me?
Probably 38.
Okay. You didn't have to guard him, did you?
Yes, we double teamed him.
And they still scored only 38?
Dupree scored about 25 because we go inside out. He'd throw it to Bill would throw it back to him. 15, 20-foot jumper. He was deadly.
Nice.
He's been kind.
Did you remember Tom during those games?
I did.
Mike? Yeah.
Yeah. And to expand on, there was, I always kind of formulated in my head as we were playing, our senior year especially, I was afraid of opponents, but I always knew we were going to win. There were two teams I definitely did not want to play. One was Monte Vista, one was St. Augustine, without a doubt. And
that was Jim's team, right?
Jim, Monte Vista, St. Augustine.
Oh, yeah.
St. Augustine, we never played during the regular season, I don't believe.
Different leagues.
In the leagues, but
is that right?
Yeah.
We played in the summer though.
That's another story.
Really, did play during the season? Huh?
We never.
No.
Well, what? We should have probably played in the finals of the CIF. And Tom got hurt. Saints lost in the semis, I believe.
We did
by a point or two. So, but the two teams Helix and St. Augustine probably should have been in the finals. Although Chula Vista, I'm not discounting them. They were a great team. They had some great players on that team.
Castle Park.
Or Castle Park with Elias. We played them in the semis for sure. But
let me tell you a quick story about that though. So we played during the summers.
Yeah.
Pepsi-Cola League, Summer League, down at Muni Gym.
Yeah.
They were in one division, we were the other division. They were 12-0, we're 12-0 during the summer. We played them in the final game at Grossmont College, and it was pretty close. We lost by 10, but they were beating teams by 50, right? So during the season, we're ranked number 2. They're ranked number 1 during the whole season. Monte Vista was what were you ranked 3 or 4 or something?
Yeah, they were right up there.
You guys were right up there. Sure. But I was going to say we thought we could beat these guys all during the season because they're like beatable. We think we can beat them because our coach instilled that in us.
Yeah.
Right.
We ran the F44 variable offense, which is the first computerized offense in the history of the world,
really?
According to our coach. Yeah. You know what it was?
What?
It was a math teacher. We're doing some stats and stuff for it. He was our human computer.
That's gonna work.
But he had us thinking that way. He had us psyched out. We thought we could beat it. So during the summer, we play and we lose. During the year, we come back. We're like ranked number 2 behind them all year long. I get hurt in the semis. Our big 6'8" center gets hurt in the semi. We weren't at full strength. We thought we could play them in the summertime and beat them. So our friend George Evans, who's on our team, calls up Bill and says, "Bill, let's play a pickup game and find out who the best team is in San Diego." And Bill goes, "Sure. 9 o'clock, Helix Gym, Saturday. Show up. We'll go shirts and skins." And we show up. And Bill, this is a great Bill story. Calls the band up. We show up. The Helix Gym is packed. The band's playing the fight song. This whole thing's going on a Saturday morning with Bill got the key to go in. Totally illegal, right?
It's like out of a movie.
It was classic.
It was
classic.
Yeah,
that was Bill. And so Bill comes to me and gets Tommy D. He goes, "Is it okay if we dunk?" Because back in 1970, we couldn't dunk, which hurt my game a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it hurt my game because I was well below the rim.
That's right.
That's right. It's not good for me.
And so Bill goes, "Can we dunk?" I said, "Bill, sure." And that was our first mistake.
I can't believe you said yes to that.
Stupid. He was throwing down everything, reverse dunks, blocking shots. They killed. We walked out of there with our tails between our legs. They killed us. So they were the best team.
Was Mike on that team?
Mike was on that team. He remembers. They spanked us, and so we know who the best team in San Diego is. And I think Mike can add to that story because we thought Bill was going to come to St. Augustine because his parents were going to. We thought that story, but he wanted to prove something to us.
Bill always had things in the back of his mind, even as a young kid. We were growing up, and we were just. People ask, you asked it, Drew, one of my first questions is like, what was it like growing up with Bill? It was just great. We were just normal kids.
Right.
And we had fun just like we went to the beach 3 or 4 times. Well, Bill and I were probably inseparable for about 4 years of my life. We just did everything together. His parents picked us up and went to the beach. They left us. My parents picked us up. Lifeguard station number 12, Mission Beach. I can remember to this day. We just hung out, did stuff, went down to Belmont Park, played around playgrounds. I mean, it was just, everybody thinks a super person had this super childhood where he would, Bill was just a normal kid, very social, gregarious. When we went into high school, everybody loved him. He had that smile on his face. infectious, and he had lots of friends. We did so many things. I think it's not until Bill's, got more into the private sector where everybody was staring at him all the time and stuff, that he maybe withdrew a little bit from that, and then he gained it back again, I think.
There's no question. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, nation's longest-running community podcast in our 20th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Just so honored to have this special segment on remembering Bill Walton. Tom Davis played against Bill in high school, Tom at Saints, and Bill at Helix, joined by Bill's teammate, Mike Dupree, and Jim Bristol, who played against Bill when Jim was at Monte Vista, and was one of the very few defeats of Helix High School, joined by my co-host Lindsay Belsky. She is the senior multimedia editor for the San Diego State Daily Aztec. So I asked Lindsay, we're going to have this special on Bill Walton, and Lindsay's a little bit younger.
Sure.
So said
Understood.
The name is familiar, but not quite there yet. So now, do you feel like you know Bill?
Yes, I do, and I'm literally going to go home and read up more on him, because I love this story, and I love kind of the idea that we're learning about how these are real people. These people have real childhoods. Mm-hmm. They have real stories, and you guys are really showing just the authenticity of him, and I think that is the best way to honor him. And I'm inspired, and I love hearing all these stories from you guys. I'm very well invested now.
Yeah,
we could tell a lot more.
Yeah. Oh no, we're just getting started over here. But Tommy, let me put it over to Jim over here, because Jim was going to comment when you were talking about maybe Saints being 2 and Helix being 1, and then Monte Vista being ranked in the top 50 or whatever that. So Jim, talk about that.
Well, just real quickly, going through my scrapbook the other day. We didn't make the semis of the playoffs. We lost. Our center was hurt, so we lost to Lincoln, who had a really good team. I don't know how they didn't get to the.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I going to say about that? I was going
rankings.
Rankings. Yeah. Preseason, we were number 2.
Oh, you were. Yeah.
So that's not bad. Preseason.
That's right. Tom was trying to take credit for that.
Yeah, because we had beaten them the year before. We actually lost to them by 1 in the Pepsi League, or you'd have been playing us in the semis. Remember that game? We lost to you guys by 1 in the semis at Muni.
Down at Muni.
Yeah.
No,
I missed a free throw.
Uh-oh.
Believe that.
You should never admit that on the air.
I said it.
Well,
that's why I remember.
Mike, it's now here for the rest of your life. Tom, you were going to make a comment.
First of all, he got a full ride to University of Oregon where you were. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he played at Oregon as well.
But Harder wasn't the coach then. Yeah, you were the coach before. Right. Who was your coach?
Steve Belko.
Oh, yeah.
And Frank. And Frank Arnold.
Before he went to UCLA?
Yeah. And hardly anybody knows that Frank Arnold was a head coach at UCLA. Correct? Is that correct?
He was assistant coach.
But I think he was head coach for 1 year. No?
No, because
you never made it?
Yeah,
okay.
Denny Crum and Frank Arnold were the assistant coaches to Wood. And then when Denny left and went to Louisville, then Gary Cunningham came in on that.
Okay, because Gary Cunningham was a freshman coach.
Yeah. But the reason why I know this is that John Wooden did his basketball camp at my high school. So it was at Palisades High. And it's the last thing I wanted to do was fundamentals in summer. You guys know this. All you wanted to do was play. I don't want to do. I did fundamentals. Our coach in Wooden was really close, Jerry Marvin and Coach Wooden. So we ran the Wooden offense. We had enough fundamentals during the season. Forget it. We just wanted to play. Yeah. You guys all know what I'm talking about on that.
Sure.
Frank Arnold sort of ran the camp, and
he's the one that recruited me. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a tough nut on this thing here. So so you were. No, let me ask you a question here. Were you at where'd you stay? Was it the College Inn? What dorm were you at?
I was in the dorm right across from the track.
From Hayward Field.
Yeah, from Hayward Field.
Yeah.
The old.
Do you remember the cemetery right in the middle of the campus? It was right by.
Yes.
Right by MacArthur Court.
That was the site of a protest. My freshman year, the Vietnam protest. was at that cemetery.
That
I
was
drove
your freshman year.
Cemetery on campus by Mac Court.
Yeah, right across the street.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's where this demonstration was, in the
Oh
cemetery.
my God! Here,
believe
just
it or
had to
not.
throw that out here, just a little bit in this aspect of it. Yeah, but Jim, let me ask you a question. Then we'll put it over to Tommy and to Mike on this. I love that what Lindsay talked about. You're learning about Bill that most people don't know about Bill and all this. Talk about so you have a 21-day rafting trip with Bill. I'm not sure how you survived that one, and and then you had the Snake River on this. How was Bill on this trip? Was he just typical Bill?
Yes, he was Bill personified. He, these are some pretty serious rivers with some pretty serious rapids.
Level 5.
And Bill, of course, did it on a pontoon boat by himself. In that picture, you have the picture of Bill, and he's just amazing. The first trip I went on with him, it was when he was just done with Portland. And I think he was moving to San Diego, and he organized, he had a bus and picked up people in L.A. And Dupe and I were living in South Lake Tahoe at the time. And I think you dropped Lori and I off.
I did.
In Truckee.
In Truckee, yeah.
And the bus picked us up and then drove up to Idaho.
Yeah.
And one thing I remember, when Bill picked us up, he got out of the bus and opens up the side of the bus, and I look in there and I see all this beer. I mean, there's just cases and cases of beer. And I said, Bill, what's with all the beer? And he goes, one 6-pack per person per day. So we were well stocked. And Bill, he just organized this trip. He had met this guy, Ken Warren. I don't know if you remember that name. He's a legendary whitewater guy.
I do not know.
From the Northwest. And he met him when he was up at Portland. So that's how the trip got organized. So there was guys from Portland and guys from L.A. and Lori and I, my wife. And it was a great trip. And then 20 years later, this Colorado trip came up, and it was pretty much the same thing. Bill, that was a Grateful Dead trip, though. That trip came about because Bill had met some guides at these Grateful Dead concerts. Everybody knows about the hundreds.
Winterland, yeah.
The hundreds of concerts that Bill attended. So they talked Bill into organizing the trip, and I got to go on the second one. He had done one before, and it was just amazing. First class. And
I got to tell you this. I was talking to Tommy about this. I got to bring it up. I actually knew Lori before I knew Bill. Oh, I knew of Bill, of course, but I knew Lori because we did a lot of community stuff together, and she'd come on the podcast. I've been doing this thing for 20 years, but she came on when she worked for the San Diego Center for Children. I'm not sure if she knew she was doing that before she went to the Union Bank in this aspect of it. But Bill and Lori were heavily involved in the community, as both you guys know, of course. And they got an award from the National Conflict Resolution Center, NCRC. Steve Dinkins is the CEO and still runs it. And they do a Peacemaker Awards, right? So we had a studio, as Charles knows, my business partner and the CEO and founder of Cloudcast Media. The studio moved all over the place, but when we moved downtown, we were at 600 B Street, which is right across the street from NCPC. So whenever there was a Peacemaker of the Year, Steve Dinkins would say, hey, Drew, can we come on and talk about our Peacemakers of the Year? I said, okay, that's fine. We're going to bring Bill and Lori on. I said, okay, on that. And you don't, with Bill, and later in years, you never gave him the mic because you would never get it back, right?
Right.
Which was not the case, as you know, Mike, growing up with him as well. So I said, no, that's fine. I said, Steve, just to let you know, the show is live. Right now we're taped. We consider it live, but it's taped. I said, but it's live. We got commercial breaks and all that business. Yeah, Drew, you know what you're doing. You'll be able to handle Bill. I said, okay, you really think so? So we start the show and all that. And, of course, Bill is all over the place, right? I could, barely get the mic from him and all that business. And Lori goes, you're not being too hospitable, Bill, says it on air and all that stuff. And so I'm saying, yeah, we're talking about Bill and Lori Walton. They're giving the Peacemaker Award. He bust into John Lennon's "Give Peace a Chance" and start singing on that. Bill, you're doing a great version of it, but we got to go to commercial, and he just sings right through the commercial and all that. Listen, the guy didn't do anything to harm a flea, on this, and it was so Bill on this, and Lori just is shaking her head on this, and. Listen, the guy, he was on the Union Tribune Community Advisory group for quite a while, and he gave so much to the community. You guys know that as well. I'll start with you on this, Mike, and then, Tom, you worked with Bill because you're in the community so much as well. But, Mike, when you first met him, obviously, that day, and then obviously convinced you and your parents that you're going to Helix and all that, did you see that in him then? Did you see that he would be a community leader back in that age?
Well, I don't know about that, Drew. I knew he would be a leader. We're just kids.
Right.
You can't formulate those kinds of ideas and opinions of somebody going out. We always knew something was going to be special with Bill. We always thought it was basketball, of course. I mean, I still remember the day we were riding. I was over at Bill's. I spent most of my time at Bill's house. His mom, is a great cook, one of the greatest home cooks I've ever had in my life. I ate half my meals there in high school. But they were taking me home one night after dinner, and Bill and I had just been watching a game on his little black and white TV at his house. We had one channel, ABC, and it was the Celtics were playing the Lakers, and Bill Russell, and Bill was glued to it. And I knew that he had something there. But anyway, I'm diverting again. Going home, and Russell had been awarded the MVP of the year and had been awarded a car at that time. And Bill said, "Dad, one day I'm going to be the MVP, and I'm going to buy you a new car." And his dad goes, "What's the MVP? What do you mean? What does that mean?"
Yeah, I can see Ted saying that.
And he actually did that.
Yeah.
And when he won the MVP at Portland, he got a brand new Mercedes or something, and he gave it to his dad. So that was a good story. But as a leader, we always knew he was the leader.
Right.
His visions were always that. It didn't matter what we were doing. He was always thinking ahead. He was thinking a year out. When we were transitioning coaches in high school, he loved the coach that we later had because he employed a speed-up game. The previous Helix coach was a slow-down guy, and Bill didn't like that. But he knew all along. He was putting his guys together. He said, "We're going to run. We're going to do this." So he was always thinking things like that. And as far as in high school, I don't remember what he was involved with, but I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah,
it was hard to put.
Well,
that
no, you
together.
did answer it because he was a leader. He just happened to be a leader at this aspect of it.
He put me into Helix High School. He knew he wanted to take.
I love the story that your parents are there, and they go, "This guy named Bill came by, and you're going to Helix, and you could have probably knocked you over with a feather, on this, Tom, you've been involved in the community for so long, and I know you've worked with Bill. Obviously, you played against Bill and all that business. When did you start working with Bill on different types of projects?
So first of all, I want to talk about his parents first, number one, because I think a lot of what they instilled in Bill is through Ted and Gloria. Those two people were amazing. Ted was like a social worker, and his mom, Gloria, was like a librarian. So Bill's a real big advocate for libraries, right? But just kudos to them, his parents, awesome people. Big Bruce, and their family, Kathy and Andy, great family, and we respected that. So, from a distance, after I got to know Bill later on, he's been serving on so many boards in San Diego County. I was thinking about that because I first met him. I think really got to know him better when I was on the board with Computers to Kids San Diego. He was on that board,
right.
And anything that you asked, he would probably get it done. Challenged athletes, big advocate for challenged athletes, and so I took some time to write some words down to describe Bill in my when I was thinking about him over the time.
Sweet is that?
Yeah, I have a couple words that describe him for me. First one, intelligent. The guy was a tremendously intelligent human being. He was avid reader, read like unbelievable. He was a social activist. He got thrown in jail for being anti-Vietnam War back in the 70s. 72, he got thrown in jail.
They
he was an
shut
activist.
down 405.
They shut it down.
Right.
He got thrown in jail.
I know.
Coach Wooden
Right in front
didn't
of
like
my
that
house.
too much. Coach Wooden wasn't too happy with that. He's a loving father and husband. He's got 4 boys, all great kids. I think it starts with Big Adam, and he's got Nate, and then there's Luke, and then we call him Tuffy. Chris is a young guy, great servant leader his whole career, philanthropist. He's on 50 boards. For nonprofits, Lucky Duck Foundation, Challenge Athletes. He's always been empathetic. He always cares about his fellow human beings. Philosophical as hell. Like you said, you couldn't get a word in edgewise because he loved to talk. And we talked about this earlier. I think Charlie Jones helped him out. Remember the sports broadcaster in La Jolla helped him out get over his stuttering problem. He had a speech problem, speech impediment. Helped him with that. So we owe all that to Charlie Jones, really, I think. Either you love Bill as a broadcaster or you hate him. And we loved him because he would just make things so colorful. He always had that tie-dye shirt on, and he'd always talk about the great saguaro cactus here at University of Arizona. And he'd always add all these things. He'd research and study.
As a reporter, I think that's the best.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
I think it's the best.
He did so much homework. He obviously was a music lover. He loved the Grateful Dead, and we see him at every concert. We would see him at every single concert with his own chair there.
Bring his big chair.
He had his big chair.
Because of his
and
back.
then finally, I think, in my own opinion, he's a champion. He's a champion for San Diego. And for me, in my opinion, these guys will probably agree, the best player in basketball to ever come out of San Diego.
Yeah,
Period.
when he came as a freshman, the UCLA freshman couldn't play. It's the same with Lou Alcindor several years earlier, and they were winning games like 123-40. For God's sake, it wasn't even and so forth. But when his first year as a sophomore, teams are in for it. And, of course, they won 30-0, 30-0. Then the streak ended in Notre Dame in this area. But you hit something, and all three of you guys have talked about this. But the thing about Bill is that when you first met him, I'll give you a story. Tom, you haven't met my buddy T.R. Osborne yet. T.R. was a sports marketing guy for me at the Union Tribune. Huge sports guy. He came from New York and then spent time at Arizona Republic. But I introduced T.R. to Bill at the Hall of Champions event, Salute the Champions, that I'm sure you guys have gone to. And so I said, hey, Bill, I want you to meet my friend T.R. And so he did. When Bill died on Memorial Day, I'm doing a special broadcast at National, Veterans Memorial up in Mount Soledad. My phone started lighting up. Rick Schloss called me and said, your buddy Bill just passed away. TR calls from Minneapolis. Of course, I'm on the air. I can't sit there and do anything. So I checked it later. I had 3 people say, you introduced me to Bill Walton. This is TR saying. Bill acted like he knew me for 5 years. And I said, it's funny, we're hearing all these people, talk about Jay Billis and everyone talk about Bill. And for those who had just met him, you guys knew him better than anybody, obviously. I said, I'm going to share that story. I talked to TR recently, and I said, we're doing a Remembering Bill Walton deal with the guys who knew Bill better than anybody, and the guys who grew up with him and then played against him. I said, I'm going to tell that TR story. He said, to this day, I talk about the fact that he acted like he knew me for 40 years. That's Bill.
I love people like that.
Here's a guy that is iconic for 75 different reasons. So, Mike, I'll start. Yeah, but unbelievable. And listen, I couldn't believe it when all these people called and stuff. So, Mike, and then we'll toss this over also to Jim and to Tom. So you played with Bruce as well, and you knew Bruce, and we loved Bruce because he got heavily involved in the community. Worked for the Rock and Roll Marathon, of course, and was at Kiffin with Mike Stafford and all that business. Died way too young, way too young. Yep. How was Bruce in the relationship you had with Bruce?
Bruce, well, Bruce is a good guy.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure. And in all the stories you all have read on him being the protector of Bill.
That's right.
Very prominent in Bill's junior year in high school, because when we set up our junior year, Bruce played in the post. Bill faced the basket again. He did those little 15-foot bank shots, and until the game got close, Coach Nash if a game got close, Coach Nash would go flip-flop. He'd move Bruce out, put Bill back in the post to get ourselves about 3 or 4 pretty easy buckets. But Bruce was a protector, enforcer, football player. But you know what? A wonderful basketball player. Some people don't remember that. Bruce Walton had very good hands, soft hands, like Bill. Bill's got the best hands I've ever seen, the greatest footwork I've ever seen. People talk about big players. What makes the difference? I said, Bill Walton had the best footwork. If you just watch his footwork and nothing else, you would know why he was so good. And his hands, of course, just everything. But Bruce was the same way. Had really good footwork. For a guy that was 6'5", 275 coming out of football, dropped about 40 pounds during basketball in about the first month. And pretty good basketball player. Yeah, I mean, he probably averaged 10 points a game, 8 rebounds, something like that, and played the hard-nosed defense and gave a couple elbows along the way. But Bruce was the type of guy, we were all friends of Bill's, and I was a real little guy in high school. I mean, I never really grew. And so Bruce, we came in on eggshells when we came in the house sometimes. I walked by Bruce's room at night. Bill would go, come on, hurry up. Walk by, and all of a sudden, I hear the door open. It would be Bruce. He goes, he used to call me, I forget what he called me. He goes, hey, Dupe, come here. I gotta go. I gotta turn around and go, and then he'd just be hovering over me. And he goes, go get me a glass of milk. Would you get me a glass of milk?
And what did you say?
I said, okay, Bruce, I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. How high can I jump?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. But you know, we just knew him. He was just formidable that way, and we didn't really hang out with him because we had our own thing. But we'd be in the backyard a couple of times playing basketball at Bill's house, and they had I don't know if most people don't know this, but we would shoot baskets back there. But his dad had put up a basket in the backyard, but it was all dirt in the back, and it was on a hill. It was down in there, some potholes, and Bill and Bruce used to go at it out there. But Bill would be shooting, and I go, how in the hell are you making these shots? Bill? We're on a slope stuff. But Bill would just adapt to anything. It was formidable. But anyway, Bruce took care of us. He protected me a couple of times when I got into trouble.
Yeah, I bet. So, Jim, did you know Bruce pretty well?
Yeah, I got to know Bruce pretty well. One of my memories, I played football up until my senior year, and then I decided to stop. We didn't have too good a team, but I remember being out at the split end position and looking down at our line, and there's Bruce, 6'6", 270.
In high school.
Yeah, in high school, and we have 6 foot 180 guys going against him, and it was just he was so large, he was wide, big, and he was a good basketball player. I just don't think he knew he was going to play football. He went on to play at UCLA and do well, and had his NFL time.
Yeah.
So he was a great athlete. Now, I'm sure he could have probably done the shot put, but he'd never.
Oh, yeah. He did that in high school.
Oh, he did?
On track and field.
Yeah,
I'm not sure his senior year, because by that time he was being recruited to go play football, just like Bill's whole recruiting process. I mean, that takes up a lot of time for those guys. You know?
Yeah. Lindsay's got a question.
Okay. I have one quick question for you guys. I was thinking about this throughout this. Kind of being around Bill and watching him become more well-known around, what kind of challenges did he go through when he was becoming more of a celebrity, and how did you guys support him?
Jim, why don't you start, and we'll go to Tom.
I can say this. I know that being in L.A. and after our junior years, Bill, and after that Memphis game, Bill called and said, I want to get out of L.A. Can I come up to Sonoma and stay with you guys? And he came up and spent a summer with us. So I would say he adjusted to it, but didn't always appreciate he appreciated nature, being quiet, reading, sharing times with friends, not, being the star off the court.
How old was he?
He doesn't mind being the star on the court, but off the court, he didn't want to.
He didn't want the attention.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
How old was he when he became more well known?
High school.
High school.
Senior year in high school.
Well known in high school. He was. I think Tom was mentioning this to me, and I had forgot about it. He was. Wasn't he in Sports Illustrated, Tom?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
On that, and he had he was very. there was a battle going on at the time. There was a very good player
Tom
on the East
McMillan.
Coast, Tom McMillan, out of Maryland, and they were high school opponents. So I can't remember what the final rankings were. Those, because in those days we didn't have state playoffs.
Nope.
And so we didn't actually play for we were number one in California, but we never played for the title.
Now they do, but
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what, Mike, I'll never forget this. So Tom McMillan was on the cover of Sports Illustrated,
Right.
Not Bill.
Yeah.
Number one player in high school, and I'm going, you bunch of hayseeds. Tom McMillan was a really good ball player.
I've heard of him before.
Right, because I always called Maryland the UCLA of the East, if
Yep.
you remember,
Yep.
in that aspect of it. So
Drysdale.
that's a great question. How about you, to
Yeah.
Lindsay's question?
Yeah,
about
so
Bill?
the thing I remember most about Bill was, to these guys' points earlier, about he was a selfless teammate. He didn't care about, he did what he had to do, and you could tell he was great, going to be even better, because he made an unknown team, the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
All those guys around him he made them better, and
Yeah.
that's the sign of true greatness in my mind.
And
He
I feel like that was more of his goal.
Yeah, exactly. He was just a humble guy, and I would always, when I'd see him later on out in the public, he'd look at me and he'd go, "Tommy D." He had to think about it though.
Yeah.
But think about all the people that he's encountered in his
Probably.
life. You
Yeah.
know, look at me and
Hundreds
you
of
go,
thousands.
"Yeah, it was that." You know, and he's a celebrity, and he's Mr. San Diego. Tony Gwynn is, but so is Bill.
Yeah.
And Bill, like I said earlier, is the best player to ever come out of here. We've had some great players come through here, trust me. But for his for what he did and what he did to the community and what he's done for this San Diego, he loves San Diego.
Yeah, he did.
You know, and he loves his family. His boys are all doing great. They're having great careers. J.B. Bickerstaff, Bernie's son, Luke Walton's his top assistant coach, and those guys are thick as thieves. They're like best friends from the connections that they made in the NBA. So. He's dealt. You know, it's sad he died too young.
I know.
And I'm remembering Bill. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Remember him. Rest in peace.
Yep.
The guy is an amazing human being. He was the
He would have
smartest,
done even more. for rock and
unbelievable.
roll.
He would have done a lot
He was
more.
just starting. He was just starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The good, they die young.
Yeah, well, that always happens here. We got about 2 more minutes to go, so I'll give you each a minute. We'll see how you can do this. We'll start with you on this, Jim, go over to Tom, and then we'll have you end up, Mike, a longtime friend of Bill and a childhood friend. All right, Jim.
All right. I
any
think
final
we
words?
should mention mention a little more his sports casting career and speaking career after basketball. His career in that area was equal to or possibly greater than his playing career. You know, he's in the Sportscasters Hall of Fame. He won an Emmy, and we all watched him commentate many times. You know, he was just hilarious. You know, a lot of folks found it distracting, but you know, I think he's remembered as one of the most entertaining announcers in sports.
Unique.
In sports. So here's a guy that's NBA Hall of Fame, and then he stutters, and then he transitions into public speaking and broadcasting, and is in the Hall of Fame, Emmys, and all this, and just. That's pretty remarkable for 2 careers like that, I would say.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Tom?
You know, going back, I would try to get Bill to come on your podcast, you know, to do the
To
the mountaintop. And he would always tell me, "Tom, I'm really busy right now. I'd love to do it, but you know how much research I have to put in." So he was a student of whatever he did. He was a student of that game.
Right.
Whatever he put his mind into, he would research it and become the best he could ever be. And that's a true tribute to him and his family. I want to pay tribute to his family, his mom and dad, his family, his kids, his first wife, Susie, you know, his second wife, Lori, who's an unbelievable humanitarian human being as well. Just a great he died too young. This guy was an amazing human being, an individual. We miss him. And that's what I have to say about him in terms of the feeling I have about the guy. He was an amazing human being.
Well, the great ones are the ones you miss more when they're gone than they're with you here, to some extent. Mike, you grew up with the guy, and really appreciate you all guys talking about some heartfelt comments. Final words about your buddy Bill.
Well, you know, remembering Bill Walton is a great topic. Tommy talked to me about it at one time. I said, "Oh gosh, we could spend hours and hours going through this." Or I could for sure. I think remembering Bill for me, it's interesting because for such a short period of time in life, from 7th grade to the time we were seniors, we knew each other well, inseparable, and then went different paths and actually really didn't know each other as adults. We would bump into people. Every time we bumped into each other, it was great. We chatted, but our lives just went apart. So remembering Bill Walton, I think I remember obviously in depth. The day he died, I was taken back and visibly, and I think I cried for an hour on it. And my wife said, "Oh God, I didn't realize it was going to affect you so much." I go, it's our childhood. He was a childhood friend, different than an adult friend. Although I will miss everybody in my adult life, but I just remembered all the stuff we did as kids. And it just kind of was playing back in my mind, everything for years and years. And that special time for me, I hope it was for him. But the thing I think I remember most about Bill Walton was that December day in 1964 when he sat behind our bench and he smiled at me. I'll never forget that.
No, it was a great story. As you remember the first time you saw him. So to Jim Bristol and to Mike Dupree and to Tom Davis, thank you for spending time talking about your heartfelt memories of Bill Walton. We'll send you certainly the audio of this to share whoever you want. And I think to our audience, I hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.